We like that about you. You guys ready? Okay. We're going to call today's meeting to order. Let the record show that we do have a quorum for the Marketing and Communications Committee. I think we're going to do things a little differently today in that we've got joint committees meeting. And so we are going to open following the agenda, and we're going to get through the approval of our minutes, and then we're going to take a pause so that the Events Committee can do the same and start their committee meeting. Then we're going to join together, sing Kumbaya, and go through the events application proposal. Okay, we've got a quorum. Are there any public comments on the agenda items today? Okay. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through the minutes, but why don't we just take a couple of minutes? So in case you didn't get a chance to look through them, you'll see we spent a lot of time talking about the new website. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. Oh, speaking to the microphone.
Second.
Great, so the minutes are approved as is. And with that, we are going to pause so that the Events Committee can do the same.
Thank you, Stacy. This is a meeting of the TDC Events Activities Arts Culture Committee. And we'll take order at this time. We have a quorum. Let the record show that we do have a quorum. At this time, we'll take any public comment or agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move forward on to new business. I don't know if we have any minutes to approve from the last meeting. No minutes. So we'll move on to new business, which is the request approval of event marketing program.
All right, if I can, let me make sure that my microphone's working, because this is the part that involves both boards, so we really appreciate everybody coming here and getting a quorum for us. In the past couple of years, we've had our events grants program, which essentially how it worked was the board would select events, rate them, and those that qualified, in a very simplified version, were eligible for reimbursements for marketing dollars. And the program made sense, and I'll even say that it works, but it worked and it made sense in the same way that the tax code works and makes sense. And to be honest, was not very fair to our partners. Many of them did not get reimbursed in the way that they believed they would get reimbursed, or to the amount that they thought they would get reimbursed, or they would have to, really to make it work, have somebody on their staff that understood this code and stayed on their staff throughout the course of the event, which didn't always happen. You could have somebody who had another obligation or had to leave the area, and then that could make it really complicated. So we came in, and what we wanted to do was simplify the process in a way that would be genuinely helpful to all our partners and also easy to understand. And so what we've proposed, again in short, is keeping the qualification process the same, where they will submit their event, and that will be judged by the board, and those that meet the criteria will then, it will be determined what amount they'll be awarded based on whether they're a signature event or one of the other categories of events. And they'll know at that moment how much money that they will get from the TDC to spend. And then after that meeting, we'll be able to write them a check, and they will have those funds for marketing available ahead of time. So in the old system, you spent the money on marketing, and then you hoped you got reimbursed for it. Under this new program, we'll give you the money, and that amount isn't going to change. So it's a simplified version, and you'll be able to use that money to market, and we've made very clear what we expect in terms of using the Visit South Walton logo on your t-shirts, on your website, on your print material. But we don't feel like it's too onerous or difficult to understand for our partners. But this is a pretty good change from how we've done it at least the past 2 years. So it becomes necessary to bring this by the board and make sure that everybody feels good about this. And again, the intent is to be a better partner in this program, simplify things. You know, in some cases, an event might get $15,000 marketing fund instead of last year being eligible for $16,231, provided they gave us the correct receipts and spent in the right boxes. So I think that everybody will be happy, and we may even be able to expand our program a little bit. So, want to give any of y'all an opportunity to ask questions or provide feedback?
I have a question, please. So under eligibility, where the third bullet point says a complete application and supporting documentation submitted prior to deadline, will there be a place within the application where we have to state where any dollars would be spent, or a certain dollar amount or budget would be spent?
That would be in the business plan that is presented, and that's part of what the group would be graded on, and that's in the selection process.
So there's a section of the application that's specific for the business plan?
Yeah, they will submit their business plans. Yeah.
So Stacey, what you're asking, I think, is we didn't change any of the actual application stuff. So all the previous years where you've had to submit your marketing plan, you've had to submit your business plan, that is all stayed exactly the same. So if you don't submit that, then your application is not complete, so you will not be considered. So therefore, you would not be eligible for the money. I think that would help what you're asking there. And it's scored exactly the same way as it has been in the past. So we did not make any changes whatsoever to that procedure.
One observation, though, to point out is one thing we did change was last year we put in to effect percentages for the events grants. So based on your score, you get a percentage. We eliminated that. We think this is just a much easier, cleaner way to do it. Just makes it just cleaner for the applicant and for the TDC.
I have a question. Is there a cap on the amount of funds overall that the TDC is willing to distribute to various events?
Yes.
There was a cap in the budget.
Okay.
But with that said, I mean, there is a cap, but it's a generous amount of money. So
Mhm.
we've not turned people down who
Okay.
have qualified and said, well, we don't have enough money. I mean, that's not an issue.
Okay.
Do you think you'll be able to fund more events with this model?
We do.
I guess I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, per event, is the cap $20,000?
Yes, I believe so. That's the highest level.
Okay,
As a signature event,
Signature
you
event.
receive $20,000, and as an experience event, you receive $10,000.
provided ahead of time for seed money for marketing and all of that type thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So is there criteria for where the dollars must be spent?
It's more flexible than in years past, so it has to be something considered marketing, but that can involve local staffing solutions as well.
So if the money is provided before the event, after the event, are there any supporting documents or verification of how the money was spent? Will those reports be required, or?
We're asking for a post-event report, which we asked for in previous years as well. And then in being awarded the event ahead of time is still a point system. It's just a yes or no is the result of the point system. And if we added in a caveat for afterwards, where if it's determined you didn't live up to your end of the bargain, then subsequent applications will be docked 5 points based on that.
And as part of that post-event summary that you would do, you would actually turn in your budget, your actuals versus what you did. So you can, when it comes back through, the TDC staff will be able to look at, yes, the money was spent, how they said spend the money, and then we would know that on that end.
One more question. Is this specifically geared for more leisure events, or can it also be used for like conference or convention bids? Say you wanted to bring a decent sized convention to the area.
So this is just leisure. We have a separate program
Okay.
for group meetings. And I can talk to you about that
Okay.
after the meeting, but we have a separate program through our sales department for that.
Okay.
I have a question. Come on. I was just hoping you guys could elaborate on the discretionary money that's discussed in that very last little blurb. Are you thinking that that's money that would come out of the check from you, or how exactly is that working? Because discretionary isn't mentioned anywhere else.
Yes, that's part of the simplicity of this format is that you'll get the check for $15 or $10 or $20,000, and then within that you have a fair amount of freedom on how you spend that money to promote your event.
I think it's just explained a little wrong, Chelsea, and I think when we redid the application, we just left that in. There'll still be things available at the South Walton Visitor Center that are South Walton branded for an event, such as maybe lanyards, VIP bags, and stuff such as that would not be susceptible to the $20,000 or the $10,000. However, if you wanted 40 T-shirts, we would ask that you buy 40 T-shirts because of the amount that those cost.
Right.
It's that little bit of leeway there.
So then that would come back out of our
You would
pocket
just have
on
to
that.
purchase them
Right,
outright.
completely separate of
Completely
the
separate
check. Okay,
from-
got it,
Would be a completely separate transaction.
got it.
We're trying to get it to where we don't take any of your money back.
Yeah, you'll get the money ahead of time, and then you can pay out of there what you would like.
Is this a model that another county has had that we're following? I mean, you know, it has the success rate and everything. It seems great to me. It's simple, but I was just curious if you had followed another county.
No, this is a South Walton model.
Okay.
So we've made, and we can continue to adjust it. It's been a work in progress for the past few years. And I assume that it will continue to be a work in progress.
Well, I mean, we want to make sure that we're servicing our partners. I mean, that's what this program is for. And so we've revamped this, 2 times now in the past 3 years. This will be the 3rd time, but I think every time we revamp it, it gets stronger. And so we're always talking to our partners, getting feedback, and seeing how we can make it easier and better, for you. And so, this is the outcome of those conversations.
I have a question. Under event classification, the special circumstances, it said that those will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Will you use the same scoring system for that, or do you have something else in place to be able to kind of determine how you decide what you're doing?
A special circumstance in the past was something similar to an Emerald Coast Theater Company, whereas in previous years it may have been the event that was sponsored was one run of one play, whereas it could make more sense to someone like the Repertory Theater, Emerald Coast Theater Company, or someone that had a long-standing event that goes all year long. You might want to consider that could be considered as a signature event rather than an experience event because it goes all year long. Just those kind of special circumstances, or special circumstances could also be something like the event has never happened before, and so there's no history on that. There are some questions in the previous the questionnaire that they fill out that gives them an opportunity to explain that.
Thank you.
In the marketing section, under Visit South Walton responsibilities, can you elaborate on the online campaign based on timing request of event? What does that entail?
Where you are.
3rd page.
Sorry.
So what we've done, what we've done in the past and this year as well, we work with the event and we work together to create an online campaign that drives visitors to that events page on visitsouthwalton.com. So, and it's worked very well in the past, and we would continue to do that. However, previously, that was part of the money that you received as part of the event, and we don't want that to be part of the money any longer. We just want that to be something that we do. So while we will, Visit South Walton will still do it on behalf of the event, we're not putting a money cap on that as like $6,343. Because it was money similar to something like that. This would just be part of the overall plan that Visit South Walton was doing.
One of the difficulties we ran into in previous years is we put that dollar amount down. So we said there would be a $5,000, online campaign that we will fund, and our partners were wondering, when do I get that money? And the answer was that, oh no, you don't. We've committed to spending that amount of money, but they'd already made plans for that money, maybe. So in this iteration, you don't see any dollar amount listed that is our investment.
There's a lot less back and forth of you pay me, then I'm going to pay you, and then
Good.
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
David, am I reading this right? October 1, 2019 to September 30th? Is that one of the bigger changes, that it's not really specific to shoulder season?
Oh, it still should be specific to shoulder season.
I guess
So
in the
after-
eligibility, it may not be clear, because it says from October 1,
If
2000.
you're eligible all year long to have an event, you get less points for your
Alright.
timing of your
Thank
event.
you. I
if it's
was
not in
feeling like
shoulder
that was,
season.
yeah.
We wouldn't want to exclude someone such as maybe an Emerald Coast Blue Marlin, because that is a large event and that is one of the only fishing events South Walton has. We wouldn't want to exclude them from applying if they wanted to be a part of this. But obviously, if you're a shoulder season event, you're going to get more points for that overall system than someone that is in that time frame, that June, July, and August time frame.
So
So like a weighted average.
It is a weighted scale. It's very plain. If your event happens during these months, you get this many points. If your event happens during these months, you get this many points. It's very,
That's what I remember from last year, that checking, double checking there.
I think in the eligibility section, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth bullet down, I believe there's a word missing. Days should be 45 days. I'm guessing days and not dollars.
45 days, yeah.
Yes.
Is there a limit on application numbers?
No?
This certainly seems a lot more streamlined and simple, frankly. I keep thinking, where's the complicated stuff here, you know, because it used to be fairly, in the past it's been somewhat convoluted, and I know that you guys have worked hard on this. I think it looks really good.
Well, if it looks good to everyone, if somebody can make a motion to accept the proposed changes.
We'll actually need a motion in a second from each committee.
So we'll, on behalf of the TDC Events, Activities, Arts, Culture Committee, do we have a motion to accept this event marketing program?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
So for the TDC Marketing Communications Committee, do we have a motion to accept the event sponsorship program?
motion.
Ron motion, do we have a second? Jessica gave us a second, all in favor? Any nays? The ayes have it. Passes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and for the events committee, if you guys would like to move to, or make a motion to adjourn, your portion of the meeting is concluded. You can stay and hang out, or you can go take care of business.
We'll take any committee comments at this time?
No.
Seeing none, public comments? I knew you got something to say, right? Seeing none either, I guess at this point we'll adjourn.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I think you've done a really
Real
good
quick,
job.
if I may, we have a new staffer who just started yesterday, and I'd just like to introduce her real quick to both committees, because her role is important to the TDC. Katie, do you want to stand up? So Katie Feeney is our new social media person, and so I'm sure she'll be interacting with all of you guys somewhere in the near future. We're really excited to have Katie on board.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy your meeting.
Okay, so we're going to carry on with the Marketing and Communications Committee and new business. No, old business. We just did new business. Wait a minute. We do have new business, yeah. This should be on the agenda. So there's a second new business item specific to this marketing packet. Oh, good. We'll get to that in a minute. Is there any old business? No old business?
Just real quick,
Yes,
under
sir.
old business, we did send you guys out the survey for the website, so I hope y'all saw that and y'all are participating in that little research study for us. We're doing some outside of your group as well with just consumers. So we'll be really curious to see what that feedback is and kind of guide us moving forward with the website as we kind of enter the final stages of development.
Is that window still open?
I'm not sure.
If you want to send it to us, I'll make sure that that gets heard, because
Okay,
the
great.
website will continue to go through revisions.
Thank you for that. And director's update.
So normally I would show some slides, but since we had kind of an unusual layout, we printed them out and put them in your booklet. I'm going to give you a quick catch up first of marketing. If you look through the numbers here, I started out with website performance and traffic by channel. You see normally, or last month, organic search was tops, but this time social eclipsed that a little bit, and you'll see why about 2 pages from now. But you can see we're getting fairly good traction on our website. I hope, again, that as we move to the new website, those numbers just improve. But we've got your January impressions and our click-through rates, which remain very high in several of these categories. Industry standard is about 0.24. So on our brand campaign, we're about doubling that, a little bit more, exceeding that as well on special events page. As we go into the marketing, our top performing ads, this is, sure.
Click-through rate, what did you say the industry standard was?
It's about 0.24.
Okay, thank you.
Whereas if you look at our marketing, our top performing digital placements, Facebook desktop is almost 2%. The mobile Facebook ads outperforming that at about 2.5% click-through rate. So those are really good. And it's nice to be able to get these sorts of stories out, because what we're seeing is really catching people's eyes are the types of stories that give people the tools to explore South Walton. They want to see the insider's tips, and they want to know how to really get into the area, which is great, because those are the sorts of questions you're asking when you are planning to make a visit. So looks good there. I wanted to talk a little bit about, we now have all of our marketing printed publications out. So we've just got in the Explore Guide and the Scene Guide. Explore is an expanded version of where before we might have had little hiking and biking trail maps. This has more information. It's in a more magazine style layout, and Courtney did a great job with the maps in there. So that'll be very useful for our visitors, but also for people to get ahead of time. Another good thing about this collection of guides, a lot of our partners, accommodation partners, indicated that they couldn't put our visitors guide out because it had full accommodation listings in the back. So if we can provide some of these more specific guides that don't have those listings in there, that can be helpful to our partners. Lisa has been going out meeting with our top bed tax collectors and making sure everybody's aware of what we have and that they can have these to distribute to their guests at no cost to them. And we are going to be sending out a survey soon. Is that already sent out, Lisa? Okay, probably this afternoon or first thing tomorrow. Survey to our partners, letting them know that that is our goal, is to create something that's of value and use to them. We do hear people say, due to our brand guidelines, we can't put something like this out. Other people, it may be prohibitive in terms of stocking every house. Maybe they're going to come back and tell us this is kind of the wrong direction. We'd rather see a different format, and we're flexible in that. We've been talking about some ideas in-house, including dropping the accommodations listing out of the visitor guide and having it as a piece that could be tailed in instead, so that you could either have those in there or not. Again, just trying to make it as useful as possible. If you haven't seen the new guides, I definitely recommend picking some up. And if you have an outlet to get any of these guides to your guests, we are more than happy to provide them to you, and we can drop them off.
Are they available like in a mobile app?
Yes, we've got a digital version of them available. We don't have a mobile app for Visit South Walton, though.
Okay.
And that's a good point that Ron brings up, because we see more of our visitor guide being viewed and distributed electronically than in print anymore, which we were talking about it before the meeting. It makes sense to me because there was a time when people would order, several destination magazines and do their research that way. But these days, what we're really seeing is that people are Googling and getting that sort of information immediately, rather than wanting to wait a week or 2 weeks for it to arrive in their mailbox. However, these guides we're designing, keeping in mind that it's something that the user would like to use in destination. So rather than leave it at home, they will take it with them and use that to find what they're interested in. And that brings us to the website update, which Jay discussed a little bit, that we've sent it out for partner testing, and we're getting feedback right now. We're continuing to marry the website as it exists now, which is an incomplete version now, and we'll keep working to get everything buttoned up. But we're already getting the listings imported through Jackrabbit, and we'll continue to do that. Their team's bringing those in manually, and we've got, I think, 1,500 at this point, which is already more than we had on the old website. So good progress and good news there as well. And then to switch over to the communications department, we've started over our year-to-date numbers, which always hurts me a little bit. I don't like to see them go down. And so within that, we've only had one media visit so far this year, and we have several coming up, including someone we reached out to from the Chicago market because we were pitching on the new flights and the new ease of travel to South Walton from Chicago. We'll be doing a wedding group fam trip and a arts and culture group fam trip that's built around digital graffiti. The second one is. Those are two separate ones, and we'll have 3 or 4 journalists that we fly in for each of those and give tours of the area. The International Media Marketplace went up there in late January. And if you really want to sell Florida, then late January in New York is a good time to do that because the audiences are really receptive. I was able to meet with a lot of travel writers there and create some good contacts, and already have some press that's spun off of that. Our pitch themes, in addition to the ones that I've mentioned already, UMA has announced the Underwater Museum of Art has announced their second round of selections for artists. We have built a website or a web page on our website that shows all those artist renderings as well and gives descriptions. Try to be an all-in-one shop, as well as having links to the CAA and SWARA, our great partners in that. And the accessible adventure and the wine events are good selling points this time of year as well. Katie Feeney, of course, Jay gave a shout out to earlier. Really happy to have Katie over here. She will be doing our social media, but there's a lot of room in her position and with her skill set. She came from Visit Panama City Beach and was actually working in their Emergency Operations Center for about 2 solid weeks after Hurricane Michael came through. That wasn't necessarily in her job description, but she stepped up, and that's the kind of worker and the kind of employee she is. So we're happy to have her on the team. She's going to be working closely with beach operations. We have a plan that we're going to get started on to launch a website specific for beach operations and a Facebook page specific for beach operations. The idea being that our website that's visitor facing, our Facebook that's visitor facing, is probably not the venue where you want to talk about which boardwalks are shut down or which bridge you should expect to be closed. These are our viewers, or our audience, are people who are making plans 6 months out, and there's a great possibility that none of these things will affect them at all, but it doesn't sound great, and so we don't want to give them reason to worry. However, we do want to engage the local audience. That's something we've made a turn on, and we're really trying to do a better job of. And I think that these are things that the beach code enforcement does a great job of managing, but we've had a disconnect in communicating that message out, and I look forward to closing the gap on that. Let's see. And then for the ultra happy news, if you like to see what some of our clippings look like in print, a rundown of our clippings, this is the work paying off, where you get in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or Southern Living Online, Family Vacation Critic, and Reader's Digest. These are, in many cases, journalists we've met with or otherwise have direct pitched to get these placements. And in many destinations, this would look like a year's worth of highlights, and in South Walton, this is just the start for this year. So that is terrific news. And that is it for me, unless you have any questions.
David, where did you say on the local news and breaking news information, where is that and how is that going to be communicated to locals?
We're going to launch a smaller website. It won't be our $200,000 website launch. This will be a fairly basic website, and it'll have a social window embedded into that. So you'll be able to see both. And when there's a need for us to comment socially as South Walton Beach Operations, we can link back to our page. So the real idea is that a lot of times people in our community bring up good questions or good observations. Rather than answer those on, try to answer it in a sentence or two on a comment, we want to be able to write an article about it, to explain it thoroughly, and then link directly to that article. So we want to provide the people a place to get reliable information.
And when do you expect that website to go live?
Too soon. That'll be a process we're just starting off. So I can envision a way that it could be just a few months, but I could envision a way that we have to get everything approved ahead of time and do competitive bids, and all that tends to slow things down.
Do you anticipate you'll do a rather prolific launch so that locals know that it's there for them and where to find it and that they're being heard and you're trying to get them good information?
I think there's a real hunger for it already. I think by using the existing channels, we'll be able to get that word out. But something else that we've recently started doing that I'm really excited about is previously we mailed out our annual report once a year. That was about 55,000 copies of that. Found a way to do it instead where we use local newspapers, 3 local newspapers. I wish I brought some water. Where we've got 3 local newspapers, and we take out full page or double page ads in each of those. And we basically, we write our news.
It reads editorial-like.
It has an editorial-like in the amount of content that you can get out. It's not an advertisement. We want people to know what the TDC is doing and how to expect that. So instead of once a year at 55,000 copies, we're printing 90,000 3 times a year. We might bump that up to 4,000 or 4 times a year. And that's actually costs us a little bit less. And then we're taking those articles online and promoting them through social media, targeted social media, to make sure that people in Walton County are seeing it. And so, to answer your question, that'll be another avenue that we can use to get out information about. Want to see more? Visit our website.
Do you have any idea of what a domain name may be like? I mean, what you're going to call this?
I believe we own Beach Operations. Visit South Walton Beach Operations. What was it, Kelly? Do you remember?
We own lots of URLs,
Yeah.
so we just need to pick one. We kind of own everything in the Visit South Walton family, everything in the Beach Operations family, so we'll just choose whichever one. And if we don't have it, Jay will tell us about it.
Yeah. find one that makes sense and make sure that it's matched for social media and for the website.
Did you see a bump in your social media numbers based on placing those advertorials?
Yes. Yeah. Facebook and social media in general has become more pay-to-play than it originally was. And you're always trying to guess what happens, what the algorithm is doing. I would guess that right now live video isn't being pushed as hard as it once was, so you'll see a drop-off there. But we have been moving more and more towards digital marketing, and I think that's as it should be.
Agreed.
David, I might want to add just when it comes to the operations portion of that site, to mimic some of the primary navigation for Visit South Walton. So if somebody is going there for those purposes, you can easily navigate them from there to drive traffic to Visit South Walton as well.
I think having a marriage between the two is important, but we want to make sure that nobody gets confused at which page they're going to.
Maybe it's just one.
What's that?
Maybe it's just far off to the right, primary Visit South Walton, so you can get there if you need to.
Oh, absolutely.
Because news sections it's kind of like a forum, it sounds like, and an opportunity to have a news section, which always drives traffic. So just trying to add ways to drive traffic.
And we're brainstorming layouts right now, so if you see a website that you think does this well and is laid out well, I would love for you to steer me towards it. And yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, David. Are there any comments from the committee? Any public comments today?
I just have one comment. So the director of marketing position is open until next Monday. I've chatted with a couple of you as you were walking in, just to let you know, hey, if you know someone, refer them to the county website, or you can direct them to me, and I can direct them to the county website. But the position's open for one more week. We've not gotten as many applicants as I would like to have gotten so far. We've gotten 30 of them. So if you know anyone who might be interested in the marketing director position, great organization, great team, so I can talk about them all day long.
Did you want to tell them about the STS award?
Oh, yeah. So I went last week to Daytona Beach. Southeast Tourism Society had their annual meeting last week, and we were the recipient of a Shining Example Award, and it's for Best Tourism Office of the Year. So
congratulations!
Quite an honor. Thank you. Thank you. Really excited. Like I just said, we have a great team, and so that's a testament to the teamwork and what we're able to accomplish. So really proud.
Are you guys acknowledging that in a press release?
I was just gonna say, how are you getting that message
David's
out?
working on that right now.
We just finalized it. Did you send it out already? Yeah, just sent out.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Be on the lookout for it.
And it is already on our website under press releases as well.
So how many other TDCs or CVBs are in that organization?
It's 12 member states. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the Southeast, so
Hundreds and hundreds.
there's a lot. It's a big organization. I mean, I'd say easily a few hundred DMOs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys deserve
deal.
that, and
That's
it's
great.
important to get that out so that folks know the great work that's being done here.
Yeah, well, it's nice. At the board meeting earlier this morning, I told the board, and I said, it's just a testament to the team we have in place, and that's really great. So,
Congratulations
thank you.
to the whole team.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? All right, we are duly adjourned. Thank you. Your mic.
Council meeting.